Hi, I'm Dr. Leif Smith, and I've been a clinical and sports psychologist for over 20 years now. Hard to believe. And I've worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And every day, people walk into my office and they have no idea about a trick that I learned, a thinking technique that I learned when I was 21, that I now pass on to everybody that I've seen, everybody that I work with. 90% of people that walk into my office that I come across do not know this technique. And I'm going to teach it to you today. So what I want to talk about first is the problem that we have right now. The problem is that we are walking around reacting to everything in our life. We are walking around being reactionary creatures, much like animals do, to all the events, the ups and the downs of life. Animals are different than us. They cannot really choose their reactions. Now, more advanced animals can, yes, I get it. But what separates us from animals is our advanced cerebral cortex. And within that lies this trick that I'm going to teach you. But when we're walking around all the time victims of circumstances in our life, you can see there's going to be dramatically different quality of life for us. So after teaching this trick to people, after teaching this technique to my clients, I see a dramatic shift in the quality of their lives. And they go from being reactionary, from being sad, from being hopeless most of the time, to feeling empowered, to feeling like they are now in control and can manage themselves, their emotions, their lives. So the problem I see is that we are taught, our parents taught us this way of thinking, and our grandparents taught our parents this way of thinking. This passive, the world is happening to me sort of thinking. And it needs to stop. We need to end that cycle right now, in this generation, with you, starting today. And so let's talk about this technique and how you can start using it to change your life. So what I'm really talking about here is a technique, and the best way to describe it is response ability. The ability to choose our response as a human being to anything that we come across in our life, be it a physical reaction, be it an emotional reaction, be it an event, be it someone talking to us, something happening, the weather, something tragic happening. Response ability. The word responsibility, as we know it, comes from this idea. The idea of choosing, of becoming aware. We have to be aware if we're going to choose. We have to be aware that we are sentient creatures, that we feel, that we sense things, and that we can alter our behavioral responses to what happens. This might sound simple, but this is a dramatically, this is such an important part of feeling better about your life. Now, when I was 21, I was getting over a long relationship breakup, and that was the most depressed I've ever been in my life. And I remember feeling so hopeless and helpless that this girl had broken up with me. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know how I would move forward with my life. But I was reading some books on this stuff and working and doing my own inner work. And I came across this idea, this notion in the research and in the books that I was reading. The idea of understanding the difference between being a reactionary person and a responsive person. Reactionary means something happens, bam, you react. Someone says something mean about you, you have to feel bad about yourself, or you have to feel angry. It's raining outside, of course I'm going to feel miserable. I live in Ohio, of course I'm going to be miserable. Joke, Ohioans. That's reactionary. And what I learned was the difference between that and responsiveness or response ability. The ability to take in all this stuff through our senses, to listen to what someone is saying to us, whether it's an insult or whether it's something factual that can help us, to take everything in, to be aware, to sort through that information, and then to actively choose an emotional and behavioral response to that stimulus. That, my friends, is what separates us from animals. And that, my friends, is what's going to make you feel better about your life. When you realize that you've had this tool the whole time, but nobody ever taught you. Nobody ever taught me that. I didn't learn it until I was 21. My parents would say things like, "This is your fault. I'm in a bad mood because of you," right? So they would teach me things like that without even knowing, right? You should be ashamed of yourself about this or that, or you're a bad person if you think that way. Don't be a bad person. All of that stuff is reactionary, right? All of that stuff implies there's something wrong with me, right? It implies that I don't have a choice in things. Because I act this way, you have to feel that way. Or because I behave this way, I'm controlling your mood. And that's just 100% flat out wrong. When you are responsive, what you realize is I can choose how I want to feel about anything in my life. Even something as inherently bad as a breakup or a tragedy or a grief situation. I can feel bad, but I can also move forward and choose how I want to integrate that event into my life. I can choose what I want that to mean. Do I want that breakup to be the beginning of many more breakups and the victim story of my life, right? My tragic love life? Or do I want that to be the beginning of me learning something, getting better, getting stronger, getting smarter, so that I don't keep doing the same things that pushed that girl away when I was 21? I chose the latter, and hopefully you can too. And I'll make more videos about this, but this is a huge change in thinking. And it's a great tool that you can use now, today, to change the quality of your life. I'm Dr. Leif Smith. Thank you for listening to me and joining me in this video today. And I will see you in the next video.